Hello everyone, I am Gawthaman, Academic Head at IPM IAS Academy. Today, in this video, we are going to have an interaction with a government officer. The main objective of this session is to learn from their preparation journey. Today, we have with us Mr. Appu Kamal, ex-Assistant Commandant, Border Security Force. And he belongs to UPSC CAPF 2012 batch and he has secured an All India rank of 22. He served for 7 years in Border Security Force, especially in areas like LOC Kupwara sector, Sundarbans border, Kolkata frontier headquarters, etc. Presently, he is working as a manager for security and protocol at Punjab National Bank and also security head of Punjab National Bank at regional offices Ernakulam and Trivandrum. We are so happy and grateful to have him with us in this session because he is going to share a lot of information and that will be helpful for you in your preparation journey. So now let us welcome him. So welcome Appu. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And so I think we can start our discussion regarding the program. So basically, my first question is, because I know that you were a civil service aspirant for some time, you were preparing really hard and very disciplined. I have seen you preparing for this examination. So how did that preparation help you in clearing the CAPF exam, UPSC CAPF exam?
Actually, like you told, I was preparing for civil service exams only. I did not separately prepare for CAPF exam. Civil service exam, as you know, it is like the pyramid, the top of the pyramid of all the exams. So once you are prepared for that exam, so all the material and the content which you have already taken in, that will trickle down for the other exams also. So civil service exam is like base material. So for that, when I was prepared, it was easy for me to clear the CAPF exam also. And I've seen many people who clear CAPF and they do not join for a year. They wait for another year because they're already side by side preparing for civil service. They must have cleared the mains. They may have attended the interviews also, but they couldn't clear. So they take the chance. They wait for another year because this is a backup plan always for them. If they don't clear in that 1 year, they come back and join CAPF also. So once you prepare for civil service, I think I have written around 24 exams in a year. 2012 and 13, I wrote around 24 exams, including Himachal Pradesh, PSC and all these exams. That is just for practice. Because I wanted to see how the exam pattern is, what my knowledge is. So while preparing for civil service, I was able to write a lot of exams and that helped me also for the CAPF exam.
Okay. Yes. So that's great. I think so, which means when you are preparing for civil service examination, there is a pattern in which how we are actually doing.
Yes.
And the preliminary examination is something different. I mean, the civil service examination is something different.
Yes.
So what changes you made actually in the preparation? What was the approach?
Yeah. Okay. Actually, initially when I first wrote, 2012 is when I wrote the civil service exam. My preparation was not so great then. Like I neglected a lot of important topics or neglected a lot of important books which I had to cover, like NCERT and all. I was relying on certain magazines and all these books which were released by the academies and all. So I was not able to completely grasp the subjects because I did not touch the NCERTs and the prescribed books first. So my suggestion to all the aspirants would be that you first study the basic subjects and then you go for short notes and you go for magazines, the academy related notes and all. That will be easy because you already know the subject. You go directly for the shortcut method, then you may not be able to recollect during the examination. You feel like, yes, I've read this somewhere, I've seen this topic somewhere, but you're not able to grasp what is the answer for that. So that is one strategy which I changed to from 2012 when I first wrote the civil service exam. Side by side, I was able to make these changes in the subsequent years. Apart from this, I would also suggest all the students to do a SWOT analysis of their own self, like strength, weakness analysis. Because for me, I had certain subjects which I was very thorough with. Like from my childhood days, I was fond of history. So history, I did not have to spend much time on the topics, mostly ancient and medieval and all, because I was already kind of thorough with it. But for me, the topics which required more substantial amount of time was mostly geography. Geography, the concepts of cyclone patterns and how the air pressure changes, the wind and all that, I had a little bit of trouble. And back in our time, there was no internet or anything, so you had to read and understand, or you have to ask someone and then understand the concepts. But now, luckily, there are a lot of videos and graphic representation of how the cyclones move, how the jet winds, how they come in. So all that the concepts can be easily understood now. So you have to do my point is that you have to understand which subjects you are thorough with and spend less time on that, and don't spend so much of time on subjects which you are already thorough with, and so that you can balance the subjects. And also you should try to spend like as per your convenience. For me, like morning hours were the best to prepare. Late night I could not prepare much, so I used to go to bed early, and I used to get up at around 4:30, and from there till around 9, solid 5 hours, I would study the most important topics which I found difficult. Because that differs from one person to another. Some people may be able to get up late in the morning, around 9. They like to study all day. Or maybe some people like to sit late in the night and study. But that is fine. That differs from one person to another. So people have to understand what their strength is, what their weakness is, and then change the timetable and the method of such study according to that. And one should always be willing to accept the changes. Because for me, I was very adamant in the initial years. I remember I was very adamant when people told me, no, you have to do this, you have to change the study pattern. I would tell, no, this is fine. I am happy with this. But now I realize, okay, they were right. Some, changes could have been better for me also. So one should always be flexible, and one should be willing to accept the changes according to the pattern of the exam and as per their, strength and weakness. Yes.
Yeah. So I think you have mentioned many things, many tips you have actually covered in this particular discussion. So from there itself, I got one point, because when I am interacting with many of the students, so one of the major mistake that they are doing is they are actually missing this NCERT thing. Okay, so they are either focusing only on 11th and 12th NCERT. They're just missing 6 to 10. Okay, because they feel like everything covered in 6 to 10 is covered in 11th and 12th. So they'll be focusing on that. Other major problem is like when somebody is joining an institute, most of the times institutes does not have time to go through the NCERT.
Yeah, understand.
So the advanced concepts. So the students are also going into the advanced concepts, missing the foundation part. So what is your advice to such kind of aspirants?
My advice would be that you first thoroughly study the NCERT and the base books like Goshelong. I don't know if it is still available now. Goshelong was with geography, that was a good book. So my advice would be that you first study the base books from 6 to 12. 6th, 7th and 8th, most of the books are like you can read through. You don't have to spend much time to master the subjects and all, especially geography and all you can read through. 8th onwards, I think geography, they start with all this type of forest, type of agriculture and soil and all that. Then it becomes a little serious. So base subjects you master first from 6 to 12. Then you start with the notes provided by the academy. Like I told, I also did the other way around. I went from the backward side to the front. So that should be the approach. You first study the base subjects, because NCERT is bread and butter for a civil service aspirant. NCERT, the Hindu, these things are like standard. You have to master it. You cannot go for any shortcuts. There are no shortcuts for NCERT. You may have short notes, you may have summary and all those stuffs, but at the end of the day, you have to read the NCERT textbooks. Then you can come and join the classes, and they will be able to understand the concepts, or it will be like a refresher for them. Once you read the book and once you hear and listen and see what is being presented on the board at the academy, then you'll feel like, okay, yes, this I have already covered and now I am able to recollect things. So it will be like a revision also for them. So NCERT, yes, a must. It is no doubt, you have to cover the NCERT.
Yeah, thank you. So, like NCERT, another major trouble or a problem that students are actually doing is related to the newspaper part. Okay, so they may be depending on the monthly magazines. So they will get monthly magazines, general monthly magazines, and also they will actually get it from certain academies. So the problem is like they are neglecting the newspapers altogether, and they will be focusing only on the monthly magazine. So I never find it useful for the students. I also used to advise students that don't follow that, because reading NCERT is really, really important. So what is your take on this?
Newspaper reading, if you are preparing for other exams, CGLE and all these other papers like Group B exam levels, then the monthly summary magazines are enough. Like I also was very fond of this magazine study initially. Like there were competition success review and all this Pratyogita Darpan and all. So I was fond of reading this because the notes were very short. You could finish it very soon. You can move to the next topic. You didn't have to read the whole editorial page. I was not so patient enough to read the newspapers initially. But newspapers, a Hindu editorial will come in handy when you write the mains exam. Mains, you have to have the knack of writing paragraphs and writing, essay-like answers. So if you just rely on the shortcut notes or the compiled notes from the like magazines or from the academies, you will be able to write, like multiple choice questions. But that flair of, reading and writing comes only when you read the editorials. So editorials are a must. Even if you neglect the first page, you at least read the editorials first. And then if time permits, you can read the other topics, because editorial will give you a better outlook also. Like they cover topics mostly about concurrent issues and the outlook of different people from a different point of view. So you may be having a different perspective about something that is happening now. But that might change. When you read the article, you feel like, okay, yes, there are other versions of the story as well. So you will feel like, okay, you are better equipped and you can have, pros and cons. You can write more points about a particular topic. And your knowledge base also increases, like your ability to understand the topic also increases with that. So editorial is a must. Editorial, like I think even now it is like available every day, I believe. In the paper, every day there's an editorial column, 2 pages. That has to be covered. That just like NCERT, it is another base material which you cannot neglect. You neglect the other parts also, business and finance and all is okay. Business finance also important now because of Indian economy, but this is a must. This has to be done. It is a very difficult process to do, I understand. Because like I was also preparing, I never wanted to spend so much time on reading the editorial. And you can, like I told, the dividing the timetable for the day, you can keep this editorial part for the time when you're not able to concentrate much. You don't have to spend the best time of your day where you are able to study well for the editorial. Like in the afternoon after your breakfast or tea, you can just go through, you can highlight the points. You can keep a small notebook where you can write the topics important, there will be like jargons, there will be like one-liners, which you would like to use in the essays when you're writing in the mains. So for those, you can just write a small, like a line or two in a notebook and keep. So which we can commonly use. Like suppose they are asking for an essay on any concurrent topic, you can always start with a saying, a quote which was propagated by someone, some philosopher, or some theory which we learned in a topic, in a subject. So starting the essay like that would be a better option than to start as as per the norms. There will be a very common way of starting. So these kind of sentences, jargons, vocabulary which you can get from the editorial will always come in handy, not just for civil service exam, but for your CAPF exam or any exam you go for. This your strength will always be there. Your writing power will always increase when you go for the editorials. Yes.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely right. So this is what my understanding also regarding reading NCERT. So
yes,
we're really thankful for this particular advice.
Yes.
So another major because when I'm going to take classes in various colleges or to new students, so one of the questions that I used to ask them is, can you visualize yourself as a civil service officer? So
yes.
Majority, I'll say that 100% of them will not raise their hand, because they cannot see themselves as a civil service officer. It's just a visualization. It's just a dream, which means they are not confident. When they are starting this preparation journey itself, they are not confident that they will be able to crack this examination. So what is your suggestion to such candidates? Because they need that confidence, right?
Yes. Like what I used to do was I used to meet civil servants in their offices. I used to go seek advice from them. I used to go sit with them and see how they were functioning and their office, how the environment is of a civil servant. So I was able to understand a little by interacting with them. But not everyone can access them directly. But I would suggest like if there are options wherein suppose a civil servant is like giving a speech or like there would be like certain events where there would be guest speaker or something like top panel discussions and all that. Try to attend or try to see how they conduct themselves, how they what their outlook is, how they present themselves, and try to put yourself in their shoes. because you, at the end of the day, when you go for the UPSC interview, they are not going to check your knowledge base. They are going to see whether the person is fit enough to fit in the shoes of a civil servant or not. Like me, like I remember, in the interview for the personality test, they asked me, like, if you become a civil servant or if you become a CAPF officer, would you be empathetic towards your junior officers, or to your under command during an operation? I said, no, I'll not be empathetic to. Then the panel was not happy with the answer, but they asked me, like, why? So I told, see, being empathetic is fine. Being sympathetic is fine, but you cannot be empathetic to someone during an operation. If suppose you're in the middle of an operation, you cannot be empathetic, like you have to follow certain norms. You may have to, follow the rules, and which may not be liked by many. So I said, you cannot compromise the success of a particular operation by being empathetic or being, humble enough that at that moment. So then they were, okay, fine. Yeah, like, yes, the explanation is fine. And then the board chairperson told that, okay, we were expecting a different answer, but then, okay, we accept your pointer. So you have to put yourself in the shoes of a civil servant. There will be times, when you will have to think about, okay, if I become a civil servant, like, what will I do? Because interview, or you go for the UPSC personality test, they would want to check your personality, whether you're fit enough to be a civil servant or you're not. So for that, to clear all the knowledge base, whatever the NCRT and whatever we just told about, all that goes out of the window. For that, you will have to think of yourself as a civil servant. Like you will be filling a DA form before you go for the interview. You will be writing a lot of data about your hometown, your hobbies, and there are people who write so like fancy items, trekking, this, that, all that. They will go very deeply into that, and you will be in trouble. So you have to be very smart. You have to be very smart. You write cooking, you write gardening. Gardening, worst case, they'll ask scientific name of a couple of flowers or plants. You go for cooking. And they'll not be asking you so much about cookeries and all those stuff. So you have to be smart enough to understand, okay, yes, what is going to be asked. So for that, you have to have an outlook for yourself that, okay, yes, if I am going into that position, if I'm going for the interview, then like these are the things which I'll be preparing for. These are things which I'll be trying to answer, or these are things which I'll present myself as. And that will show them, or that will portray the image that, okay, this will be the person if he or she becomes a civil servant. So that, yes, you will have to put yourself in the shoe of a civil servant, and then you can go ahead with the preparation. You don't have to do anything separate for that. You just like we told, the newspaper editorial and all that will help in all these aspects. Like when you read, you gain knowledge. Once you gain knowledge in all fronts, like pros, cons, the positives, negatives, everything, when you are able to garner that information, then your outlook changes. And that outlook, when it changes, then the way you communicate, the way you give back the answers, the way you conduct will be completely different. So that will matter during the interview, the personality test. So yes, you have to, put yourself and, have a little bit of daydreaming about, okay, becoming a civil servant and, all the lifestyle ahead after that, and how much you'll be able to help people and all that, you'll slowly have to think about, especially people who are fond of uniform service. Like me, I was fond of khaki. So I was always, passionate about, I think you may be able to recollect, all the things that I had in my room, all the posters and all that. Everything that comes in the newspaper would be, cut and copied and pasted on my wall. Because I was passionate about that. Passionate about the uniform service. So that passion should be there. You should have that passion. Yes, I want to be, in uniform one day, and this is what I'll be, or this is how I'll be. That is what is being checked in the interview then. In Delhi, when you go to the UPSC government, that is what they'll check. They'll not check your knowledge. They'll not want to know they'll want to see how smart you are and how good you will be when you become a civil servant. There are like a panel of around 8-9 people. There will be a couple of people who will be constantly looking at how you are conducting, whether you are shivering or whether you are sweating and trying to show nervousness and all that. There are people who look into every single page of your DF and then ask questions from that and see how you are responding. When you respond, they write something down. I don't know what they're writing, but maybe they're writing, okay, yes, this person responds in such a way, positive, negatives, like character analysis and all. So for that, like in going for the interviews, yes, you will have to be careful also. And like I think this is a huge topic, which I think you will be able to cover with the students. Because a lot of points which you have to be careful about what you are giving as an answer, and what you are writing in the DAF in particular. Because when I filled the DAF form, I remember like I was just first timer, so I just wrote whatever came to my mind. But luckily, they did not ask much from the hobbies which I had mentioned there. So when I was lucky to escape that. So certain things, and especially for people like a small tip which I'll tell, like people who are from the NCC background. I was in the NCC college, so they asked me like, what do you still carry forward from NCC from the college days? Luckily, my handkerchief was on the left in the left pocket. I took out my handkerchief and I showed them. I said, I always use a white kerchief and I keep it on in my left pocket, because in NCC we were told, because we carry the weapon in the right hand, so the handkerchief has to be in the left pocket, not on the right pocket. So I took out and I showed, and then they all laughed. They said, okay, you're still doing that. I said, yes. They probably did not expect it. They thought, I might go about unity, discipline, and all that stuff. So I just, simply I put an end to the discussion there by taking out my handkerchief. So these kind of things, will come in, not through the preparation of NCRT and all that. This you have to be quick-witted. You have to think out of the box to answer. So yes, this is a topic as a never-ending topic about interviews. Maybe one day we'll cover this, with your students also.
Absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah.
So another major thing I would like to ask is regarding the toppers. Okay, the toppers used to give interviews, and they will talk about how their examination was or how their preparation was, especially the study hours. Okay, there are people who used to talk like, okay, you need to study for 12 hours or 13 hours or 10 hours, which means when a beginner is listening to these kinds of things, they will feel like, okay, will I be able to do that? So it will affect their confidence. It will affect their the motivation and everything. So what do you think about the study plan? What do you think about the timetable? How it should be, or is it like the number of hours, or is it like how you are actually confident enough to study?
Number of hours is immaterial in the civil service preparation, because you'll have to toil throughout the day to cover the topic that is anyway there. Don't count the hours. I've seen people who count and come back to me saying that today I spent 16 hours, 14 hours. Now, all that is fine. 14 hours of just reading and not revising and not doing test papers or mock papers will not help. So you should have a clear-cut timetable. I used to have a timetable wherein I had a timetable for around 6 months timetable, because all these topics require time of around 6 months or 4 to 6 months to prepare. So I had a timetable. By the time I finished making the timetable, I realized that, okay, I have to spend at least, around 10 hours. So I did not plan 10 hours first and then study. I made a timetable for myself, with what I told you, the strength and weakness I saw, I devoted more time for topics which I was not sure about. So by the time the timetable ended, I think I started somewhere around in June or something. So June or July or something, the timetable pattern started, and the topics when I started allocating, each day, each month, it finished only by December or something. So it took some time. It will take some time, and per day topics are also vast. You'll have a lot of topics. You'll have you have to go through that budget, the economic survey. So all this is a very cumbersome process, and all the data and all the statistics and all that is a very difficult process to understand also. So you'll have to spend time. You will have to make a timetable, because there are some people who say okay, making the timetable doesn't matter, because you will not be able to follow after a few days. But that is there. That is fine. But just think about this: you get up in the morning, you know that okay, today's topics are so and so. You have to cover this. And if suppose you are getting up in the morning, you feel okay, today you don't have any plans, and just go through some topics. You may not cover all the topics which you had prepared beforehand. So timetable, if suppose you are getting a break, if you are getting stuck somewhere in between the preparation also, you'll still have a focus okay, even a couple of weeks you are not able to prepare due to some contingency, but coming back on the next day, suppose you're restarting on Monday, you will know that okay, today's plan is so and so, I'll go with this plan. You don't have to think about I've lost so much of all these study hours. Don't think about that. You will still have a plan ahead. You will have that plan that will help you, because that will help you cover the topics in time at least. Without a timetable, it will be a little difficult. you should have a kind of a timetable, not exactly, like per day so and so. Maybe some people, they'll be able to grasp things better. For them, they may not have to spend so many hours also. There are people who have cleared civil service after preparing for 6 months. That depends on how you prepare and how well you are able to understand which topics are important, which are not. You are able to omit certain topics. So that has to be there. Timetable has to be there for everyone, because that will inculcate a kind of a discipline also in you. Like morning, yes, have to get up in the morning, and you will know that you have to get up in the morning and prepare. Only then you will complete these topics during the day. So timetable is important. It should be part of everyone's preparation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, like when there are students, like they used to say, like, so I can't study for 10 hours and all. So I also tell them that it is not about the number of hours. It is about how much you are able to finish,
quantity,
how much you are able to learn.
And
correct. It is also not about sitting in front of the textbook. That will not count.
Correct.
The learning count. That's it.
Yeah.
If you are able to finish it within 15 minutes, absolutely fine. Okay. If you are confident enough. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
and also they should revision is also important, because this is a mistake which I did in the first year. I kept on reading. I kept on grasping more and more, and there was not revision as like what should have been there, because the amount of data which is going into us, you should revise at least once a week, once 3 days maybe. Once in 3 days you should go through the topics which you have revised in the previous 3 days. And then repeat it every month also. Towards the end of the month, you go through whatever you have covered. So revision is important, because reading so much, because this is a vast, never-ending, topic, which is what you have with the civil service exam. You have a lot of topics you can keep on reading for years together, but that is not going to help. You have to omit, and you have to stop at certain levels, and you have to decide, okay, this is where I'll stop, and now I'll revise. I'll go for revision of the topics which I have done, because that will help. Because first year when I wrote, I could find like, okay, all these topics I have gone through it. Either from the newspapers or from the NCRT. The NCRT was very limited for me in the first attempt. But our topics, I felt like, okay, all these are known to me, but I was not able to zero in on the answer in prelims. So then I realized, okay, revision has to be there, because you will not. It is not humanly possible to remember everything. Unless you revise, unless you go for mock papers and you then cross-check the answers of the mock papers. So only with that you will be able to recollect all the answers. Just keep on, if you keep on reading, that is not going to help. You have to revise. Revision is very important, not just for civil service exam. Any exam you look, like revision is very crucial.
So another thing is like we know that it's an uncertain examination, because almost around 4 lakh people will be writing this examination, the entry is for 1,000 students.
Limited,
very limited. So when you're preparing for such kind of an uncertain exam, so the mindset is a problematic thing. Okay, you may not be able to be motivated all the time. Okay, you may not be able to be inspired all the time. So how do you keep that momentum? How do you keep that motivation throughout the preparation?
This, we'll have to go back to the previous question of, visualizing yourself as a civil servant and a little bit of daydreaming, which I told. You have to think about, what is at the end of the tunnel. That, this is a very long tunnel which doesn't have any sort of motivation. You just keep on, mulling through that tunnel, and there'll be a small, flicker of hope, a small light, at the end of the tunnel. You have to dream about that light. What is, there for you at the end of the tunnel? Because it is a long journey. There are people who are preparing for years and years, and they're not able to clear. So you should not lose hope. Confidence level will always be low in the preparation phase, especially when you write the mock papers and you don't get the answers correct. Don't lose hope. Like I told, mock papers are there for you to augment your knowledge base and to strengthen your preparation. Mock papers are not to judge your marks or what will come ahead in the actual exam. By doing mock papers, and if you're getting less marks, you go through that papers again, take the subjects. Okay, question number 1, it was about financial inclusion scheme or whatever. You go back to Ramesh, that Indian economist, I believe it's still Ramesh Singh is being prescribed, I believe. You go to that book, you go through the topics, okay, then go to the next question, you again see, if it is from the current affairs, then you go to the newspaper or to the magazine, or even internet you can browse. So mock papers and shouldn't be used to measure your knowledge or to measure how you will perform in the actual exam. That should be like there's a saying which goes like failures are the stepping stones to success. The mock papers are the actual stepping stones to your success. Mock paper and revision. Mock paper is kind of a revision only. So this should be used as a motivating factor, along with like suppose you are fond of wearing uniform or so fond of being a police officer. Like certain movies and certain documentaries about the service in service life and all will help you. So you have to keep yourself motivated. Never lose hope, because this exam, once you are prepared and once you are ready for this exam, there are I don't think there's any other exam which you cannot clear. If suppose somebody who's attempted the civil service mains exam or the interview or the personality test, that is, I'm sure they'll crack any other exam, whether it be a state service exam or the SSC exams or some other exam is always there for them to grasp. So never lose hope, because this is like a very tough competition, is very tough. But by making certain omissions and certain additions to your preparation, you can always muster, not just if not in the first attempt, in the second attempt at least, or the subsequent attempts. That is why I told CAPF exam is fine. You prepare for civil service, you are thorough enough for clearing the CAPF exam as well. If you clear it, don't immediately join if your civil service preparation is good. Like if the financial stability at home and all that is fine, and if you are able to spend another year for preparing civil service, then don't hesitate to wait for 1 year. Because I remember when I got through with CAPF, I had to get a job, because I had just dropped out of JMU, and also the situation at home was not so great, so I had to take up a job. So that is why I joined CAPF immediately. Else, I would have also waited for a year and prepared for civil service. So all those people who can afford to wait another year, if your preparation is good, it's not like you are just starting your preparation and you're not sure whether you clear the another exam again. Okay, then it is fine. You clear CAPF, you go for it. If you are going for an interview or you're writing the mains or something and then you're clearing the CAPF, I would still advise you to wait for a year and you take a year's extension from CAPF and then you join. I join afterwards if you're not able to clear the exams. Yeah.
Okay. So I think with one last question, we can actually wind up.
Sure.
So this question is related with the answer writing practice. Basically, you may be getting a lot of information, you may be gathering a lot of knowledge and all, but how to practice it, how to apply it is very important. Which is the right time to start for this?
When we were preparing, what we used to do was we used to prepare for mains first and then for prelims. Prelims is quantitative data. Yes, you can prepare also, but mains will take a lot of time to prepare because of this particular issue which you just mentioned, writing practice and how to write and all these aspects coming into play. For mains, for writing the answers, almost everyone would be able to write, the points which are required. So is clearing the prelims and writing the mains, they'll all know, okay, so and so is the content. Suppose the question is on globalization or the effects of whatever globalization or something. People would know what is globalization, what are the pros, cons. They'll all know. They'll have a base picture of everything. But how you present that answer is how you gain the marks. For that, you'll have to keep writing. Practice, just like I told, mock papers for prelims, and same with the mains exam as well. You have to write. There's no shortcut for it. I also was very, not so fond about, wasting time writing essays and all. That eventually affected my preparation for mains. So I would advise students not to hesitate to, write and practice, because I know it is a very, boring aspect of preparation, sitting and writing essays and getting it evaluated and again correcting it, but that will eventually come in handy. All this will come in handy when you go for mains. All this methods which we are hearing and which we have done and which we have not done and which we regret now, this will come in handy at some point of time. Like I told, editorials will come in handy for your mains exam. When you write, certain jargon, certain vocabulary which you pick from there will come in handy here, especially, and also with the personality test. So all these things which are very difficult, which are you feel like it is very boring, it is very cumbersome to do all this. This has to be done because there's no shortcut for it. There's no shortcut for practice for mains or for newspaper reading, because you have to do this. And people who refuse to, do this eventually end up getting stuck at mains, like me. I also got stuck at mains, civil service. So, like, I was hesitant to write. I felt it is very boring to, sit and write. Why do I waste time in this? I should be gaining more knowledge this time. But this is where, the timetable again will come in handy. Don't spend the best time of your day, which if it is morning hours, you spend for the subjects to gain more knowledge. Afternoons, just pre-lunch or post-lunch, you spend an hour and a half, you write some essays, you take out the topics, concurrent topics, and then you write. And if possible, get it evaluated by someone, who's close to you or your peer groups who are preparing for the exam. So this has to be done. This is a very difficult topic. It's a very difficult thing to accept that, yes, you have to sit and write essay after essay, but then this has to be done. That is why this exam is regarded as a very tough exam, because all those things, like which we do not like to do, we have to come out of our comfort zone. It's like in our training as well, in our BSF training, people initially refused to, go out of the comfort zone, and but when the instructions were given, but eventually they had to, because that is what is asked from us. That is what is expected of us. And so when we are supposed to do that kind of a duty in service, once you clear the exam, they will expect us to, clear the exam also in that way, by coming out of our comfort zone and, spending hours, beyond those which we have ever done in school or college. So all this will be, what part and parcel of your life after you clear the exam as well. I mean, not every day you'll have to spend, hours and, doing things which you don't like. But then, yes, there may be situations wherein, you'll have to burn the midnight lamp, for days together, when you're posted at the line of control or anywhere. So, all that, this exam pattern is made in such a way that, only those people who are able to come out of the comfort zone and do this, and only they can survive in the service there. So that is why this pattern is, so difficult. So, you have to do it. There's no other option. Don't get demotivated. We have all gone through this process. You all, struggled through this process. You're not alone in this. Like what, the British Prime Minister, the former British Prime Minister said, we are all in this together. Yeah. So, be cheerful. Be happy that, yes, this is a process where you're gaining a lot of knowledge. Somewhere this will come in handy. And I have not seen any person who is prepared for civil service not ending up in a good position. They've all ended up in good positions, whether it be a state service or in SSC or any particular level you look at. They've all ended up in decent positions. Someone who was prepared very seriously, because the knowledge you're getting out of the civil service preparation is unmatched. You cannot gain this knowledge, nobody can, sit and study for, like hours together, for days, months, years together. So all this will come in handy. It will all be helpful one day it will all come in handy to you. So take this as a long process, a long struggle, which, like I told, the tunnel will find the light, will see a small hope of a ray of light, which always, will be there. So trust the process, trust your strengths, and correct your weaknesses. You will always be able to succeed in life. So don't worry about the troubled preparation phase. That will anyway come. That will all go through. We are all going through that process. We have all gone through that process. So that is it. But don't worry, everything will be fine. Once you are thorough with your topics and once you start seeing results. So then it will all be good. So don't worry about the troubled initial phase. No? Yes.
So thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. Yeah. Because we got a lot of insights regarding how to prepare and what is the best way in which we can actually keep our preparation in that momentum or in that effective manner. And also we got that.
It's a long process, and you have to be patient enough to see success. You will not see success overnight. This is a long. There are some people who succeed, like I told. 6 months preparation, they clear the civil service in single digit or double digit rank. But there are people like that. Some certain factors, work in their favor. What they were able to prepare, what they were able to analyze and emit and add, they were able to clear the exam with that. But not everyone has that luck. People generally will have to struggle through for a couple of years. And hopefully, you don't have to, your students don't have to do that. Maybe let them clear in the first attempt itself. Let them not go through the trouble which we took. So, I hope they'll be able to clear in the first attempt itself.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I hope we can have one more session, and we are expecting to have one more session so that we can discuss more things. I think there are a lot of things left behind that we didn't cover today.
Yeah, correct.
Because of the time constraints you have, I know that is the reason why we are concluding this right now.
No problem.
So thank you so much, Appu, for
most welcome.
accepting our invitation. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much, Gautam, and wishing all your students the very best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Okay, no problem. Have a good day.